I am Heather O'Neill, principal of HPP International LLC. I live and work in New York City, mainly because it is a fast paced 24-hour city, and I like being a part of the melting pot. I am recording from Murray Hill near Midtown Manhattan. My COVID practice began in March with the orders from Governor Cuomo to shelter in place and stay at home. It was a moment of self reflection for me and an opportunity to evaluate the state of my physical, mental, and economic health. So, here is a view of Murray Hill. The skyline has a few architectural icons like the United Nations headquarters, the Chrysler, and the Empire State Buildings. This is a view of the neighborhood from the 15th floor looking southwest. This is a view looking north. This subway entrance to the station near Grand Central Terminal is the one that I used almost every day before the pandemic. The traffic that you see in this photograph is normal or was normal. In this image, you are looking at the same corner. The most dramatic change after the lockdown was access to transportation. Subway entrances were closed and boarded up with painted plywood, as you can see. Travel on buses was restricted to all except essential service workers at the time I took this photograph in April. This is the same subway entrance looking east towards the UN headquarters. It was a graphic reminder of the lockdown due to the pandemic. My professional life is probably 70 to 80% practice, and the rest is divided between academia and volunteering to professional organizations like the American Institute of Architects, the National Organization of Minority Architects, and Engineers Without Borders. Here I am pictured with Kimberly Dowdell. She is our current NOMA president. On the academic side, the studio culture was up close and personal in the pre COVID world. It was more experiential and was based on peer to peer learning. We were already on a road to developing new habits in the studio, becoming more digital and less physical model making. Some classes were hybrid, like the one I taught in this room. It was a combination of in person and remote teaching. This is the moment just before the class begins. The Manhattan campus students are in the room with me. I can also see the Westbury campus students on the monitor at the top right of all the screens on my desk. And the students can see each other on large screen monitors on the wall behind me, just as I can see them on monitors at the rear of the classroom as well. Everyone can see me, of course. In this setting, the technology was up to date and technical support was available and very, very good. The first week of the lockdown coincided with the spring break. It took 1 week to ramp up to fully remote teaching in the virtual classrooms. This is my makeshift podium in my apartment where I live and work. I felt compelled to become proficient with Zoom. It facilitated my ability to see the students on screen, my laptop in this case, similar to what we had become accustomed to in the hybrid classroom, while using the second monitor for the screen share or vice versa. These new skills quickly became relevant in my office practice as well. Pre COVID, I was in a partnership practice with my husband at Tona. The office was located in the financial district at the edge of Battery Park. We focused on schools, affordable and supportive housing, commercial, and healthcare projects. The work I was responsible for at Tona included the Old Boys High School in the Bedford-Stuyvesant area in Brooklyn, built in 1891, and among their alumni, they boasted the author Isaac Asimov, novelist Norman Mailer, and jazz percussionist Max Roach. We had designed the relocated library in the Old Boys High School. This is another Tona project, one of the 12 buildings that were totally renovated as part of a neighborhood redevelopment program. Pre-COVID, at the end of 2019, I was in the process of transitioning to an independent practice, HPP International LLC. My time at the office was divided between Tona and HPP International. This building is in the Penn Station area. In February, I was in the process of negotiating office space with another architect in this building. Then, boom, we were in a pandemic. It led to a change in circumstances. The new office discussions gave way to COVID health concerns and social distancing, and that new office idea is still on hold. Pre-COVID, this was the space where I prepare for class. Today, it is also my office where I work. Site visits and construction phase meetings were pre-COVID were typically in person. This one was at a supportive housing project in the Bronx. When the pandemic struck, most clients changed to virtual meetings, and video walkthroughs were conducted according to CDC guidelines for construction sites. I left Tona because I wanted to have a residential practice with a focus on brownstone projects in Brooklyn and Manhattan. We are a team of architects and engineers, each with independent practices working collaboratively with each other. However, the effect of the pandemic on HPP International is that the private residential projects were temporarily paused, and the affordable housing projects remained feasible, mostly because working on affordable housing is an essential service which was not restricted by the stay-at-home and shelter-in-place orders. To be productive, we use a variety of video conferencing platforms. WebEx, Microsoft Teams, and GoToMeeting are used most often. We communicate internally with Zoom and also to maintain client relationships. We also use the classic conference call for clients who do not want video conferencing. There are other apps and programs that we are considering for collaboration among our team. Slack, for example, has the advantage of keeping a record of conversations and the progress of design ideas on a project, as you see in the conversation thread I am showing. Miro and Concept Board are being considered by our office now for remote design discussions, and Bluebeam as well for internal design review. One of the outcomes of this crisis is the opportunity to reflect and find renewed commitment to resilient design. This rendering shows my interpretation of the Tapia House, a cultural icon in the Caribbean. We are exploring the building type for its potential in sustainability, earthquake resilience, and tropical storm resistance. This is a floor plan of the updated Tapia House that showcases the resilient features, as well as sustainable options which we want to include in the development of this design. Here is an exploded view of the structural components which demonstrate the resilient capabilities of the Tapia House. A quick reflection on work life balance in the current work environment. Working at home. Working at home during the pandemic has its risks and rewards. Comfort food has been taken to a new level in my family. Sometimes we experiment. This is our healthy breakfast. Homeschooling. Zoom classes means several hours of on screen time. The main challenge for me is a successful integration of personal and professional life. Back to Murray Hill. You are looking at pre COVID traffic at midnight. This is Third Avenue during lockdown at what would have been the morning rush hour. Here it is again. Third Avenue during a protest march after George Floyd was killed by police in Minneapolis. My COVID practice is a virtual architecture firm. The transition was relatively easy because the timing coincided with my plan to move into a new space. The important question is, are there, are things going to go back to the way things were before, or will it stay as it is now? I think that we can survive COVID 19 and emerge from it with new tools that will improve how we work and prepare us for the next disruption.